So, don't start with so. What do I say? It's only taken till episode 13, but I can finally walk down the path at the back of the railway here. Boy did it take some doing this, mainly due to the weather. But there's no more mud bog here in the middle. We have some flags, we even have some gravel down. And this was completed for the open day, which was actually last weekend, last Saturday. And as it turned out, that was quite important because it was somewhat wet in the afternoon. So being able to actually walk down here without going through the lake was quite useful. Now, we didn't really film much of that open day, mainly because we were concentrating on entertaining 20-some people and making sure the railway run and everything. We do have a load of photos and maybe a little bit of footage that we're going to put together into a video, which we'll link at the end of this one or down below in the description, so you can have a look. Hopefully in future we'll be able to film more of our open days, but for this one there's just far too many other things we had to do and get organised, so that's why there isn't any footage in this episode. A few other things that we managed to get done before the open day we'll have a look at next, one or two things, and then we will go on to what I'm doing today and we're actually doing yesterday. But more on that in a second. Let's have a look at the few little tidy up jobs I managed to get done before the open day. I got this section of ballast done, which I did say I'd film, and I didn't. But I wanted it done for the open day because it just finished this whole section off. So I will film putting ballast down, honest. I will do it. Either that end or this end. But anyway, this was done for the open day. Way back last year, I said I'd finish this bridge, and I've finally done it-ish. Got the bridge sides on. I managed to get the front one done for the open day, which is really nice because of our name on the front. The back one I didn't manage to finish off for the open day, but that's on now, and it has 2023 written on the back, which is when the railway was started. So there's a little bit more adjustment to do on these, I think, yet on the bridge sides, but it is really nice when you walk in the garden to see this as soon as you come in. So there you go.
Another thing we've done is finish off this little triangle here. Now this had a stone on it already, and it covers the electrics for the pond, but it wasn't big enough for this lovely new chapel we've got. Now this chapel is special because it's made by Stuart Curry, who sadly is no longer with us, but was a Yorkshire Group member, and we actually had the pleasure of running on his railway many years ago. But these buildings are always treasured by anybody who's got them. They are beautiful works of art. So we're quite lucky to have it. But aside from this, we have some new plants. I don't know the names, but if the camera stays still long enough I can put them on screen. So we have this one, which we're hoping is going to grow down the wall underneath the track, and these two little ones which we're hoping will fill in here. Eventually we're kind of hoping to make a graveyard, so whether that will be the far side or this side we're yet to determine, but this should create a nice low cover for that. We also unfortunately lost the phlox that was in this. It didn't survive. So we're hoping that this, which was donated by a friend of ours, thank you Matt, of Haircroft. Not quite sure what it is, but he has a lot of it growing, so he's donated some to us. So hopefully that's going to grow down there as well. But I think it just finishes this off quite nicely, having the chapel in.
During the last episode, I talked about this section and put the concrete base in for it, and then didn't do anything else with it because I realised I wasn't going to have enough time to do it before the open day. So that's why nothing happened with it. However, last couple of days I have made some progress with it. So I've started walling up this section, which is needed so that this track can come onto the bridge that goes across here. and this has my potential, hopefully going to work, culvert idea in it. So down in the bottom here I have a tub which is going to sit with water, pipe coming down into it where the pump's going to go, and then this pipe is going to come up, come out of the wall in a bit of a culverty pipe, probably here somewhere, and drop in it and circulate. How long it will last I'm not 100% sure, but I want to try it and see, and if I can get it to just nicely just run slowly, just dribble away as you run a train past, it'll be quite an interesting feature. So I'm going to wall this a bit further up today is my hope, and around this corner. Yesterday I managed to get these wall sections in, which are covering up this concrete block wall down here. So today there's a little bit of ground levelling and things to do, but I did film yesterday, so we can roll back in time and have a look at me putting these in. So we'll have a look at that. Oh, hello. This is a bit of an experiment. Well, hopefully not an experiment, because I don't really want to have to redo it. But these wall sections are going on here, and I'm concerned about frost getting in behind them and pulling them off. I was hoping to not screw them back as such, but put some fixings in and put them into the wall, but I just don't think I'll be able to get them level if I do that. So what I've gone for is I've scored all of these and the wall to try and get it to key in as much as possible. I'm also now painting on some of the SBR to give it a really sticky back to each of these. Hopefully that will just help them a little bit with, again, keying into it. And then I've also put a little bit of the SBR in my mix as well.
Yes, in this lovely bucket of
which is just a
cement.
Standard cement mix.
With a bit of SBR in it.
May have to move from this position.
Yeah, I'm not sure you're going to reach very far, are you?
I think this bit will... There you go.
Ooh.
I think this bit will stick. It's these bits I'm concerned about. Yeah, that was a bit too much of that.
Well, I might show them your nice little bit of walling down here while you're doing that.
Yeah. So that was earlier today.
So this was this morning. It is actually the summer solstice today, and so we have the longest day, and it is currently 7:45 at night, and it's finally cooled down enough to be a nice temperature to be outside doing this. But that little bit of walling down there is going to be what Rob talked about in the last video of the water pump. We're coming out of a little culvert, so I don't know whether I can show it because of the shadows, but there is a tub. The pump will be in the tub, and then it'll have a mesh over the top with some stones, something like that, covering it.
Yep.
And this grey bit of pipe will be somewhere in the wall up here, not that long, obviously. So that's just drying. And then yes, you were going to wall all the way round, weren't you, this morning, until we realised that these bits of walling had to be in first.
It was a chicken and egg situation of which do I do first? Do I wall or put these in? Which one am I butting up to which? So I knew I could only get so far, because obviously it gets quite weak the higher you go up, so I didn't want to put too much, too many courses up.
Yes.
We've
gone for basically these walling sections, because they look like rougher stone, will be effectively an old wall that they built many, many years ago to support that track, and then these blocks are a newer wall for the bridge that they've put in.
Yeah.
Which will be in that gap. Honest.
Yeah. Right.
So, yeah, and then we're going to...
I will wash my brush out, and then we will get to
putting all that
the cement on
over there.
And obviously the sun will just let let this set a little bit and
Make it
hopefully
tacky.
give a little bit of tackiness to it. Whether it does, I don't know. We shall see.
Oh.
I'm sort of trying anything that might help.
We'll let you do that and we'll come back
That
in
I've
a
got.
minute.
As is always the case, I've run out of cement on the last one, of course. Of course, now I've done all that, I've got far too much left. What can you do? Well, wall a bit more, I suppose. Anyone remembering back to the original South Carolina Railway might be able to remember a wall that was on the back of the line as the two lines split and went up, and we had a sort of retaining wall, and it was made out of these stones, which I've still got some of now. It's got sat in these buckets, and way back then we made these by getting hold of some thin slivers of stone sawing them to cut them into sort of strips, and then broke them up using a cutter. I don't have that cutter anymore, I seem to have misplaced it, but I'll show in a second. I've made a newer version behind me, because you'll need that for when you're walling it. So once you've got these, and I'm hoping we might be able to make some more actually soon, because my dad still has some of the slabs of stone we made it from, so we'll cover that in a video. Once you've got something that'll do some walling, you've got to then try and wall it, which is what I've been doing here. And obviously it's quite tricky to wall something this small, so I'm using just a normal cement mix, probably a little bit wetter than you would wall for bigger stuff, because obviously you have it a bit drier when you're walling bigger stuff so it doesn't sink, but you want it a bit wetter here because you want it to stick better, and you're probably going to put a lot more, well, as you'll see, I'll put a lot more cement on than you would do, so you'll squish a lot out. So I'm going to put this one onto here, so I'm going to apply it to the stone. Put something like that. And then, and actually for this one, because I've got a block behind it, what I can also do is try and put a little bit on the back, like that, and then very carefully tip her over, because it will always want to fall off, and put it in place. Now I'm just using my heavy scotch. It's just a heavy tool to apply it. Obviously it's basically a hammer but smaller. And we're just going to tap it down to the wall and then tap it up to the next one. Because I'm on a corner here, I've got to make sure I don't knock this one out. Tap that down. And then take off your excess. And I'm just sort of smoothing the joints out with my glove. As you go along, you're going to want to have a little level and just try and stay in level. So as you can see, that one's too high. It's not always possible to get them level because each stone has obviously been cut slightly different. So it's always going to be a bit of a challenge. And then here, because I'm walling up against the block, I'm just filling at the back of that, which will make it a stronger joint. And tie it all together. So what I'm going to do here is just carry on round here, finding the right size. So each of these blocks are slightly different lengths. So carry on something like that. So a longer one there. And we're heading towards this culvert that's going to stick out, which I want about on that joint. So I'm going to have to do probably a little one there and another little one there. So I'll show breaking those up in a second. But I'll wall along to here and then we'll come back and have a look at getting that bit in. So this is the stage I've got to. I've got a very technical pair of scissors put in here to keep this pipe just weighted down, because I want to make sure that it's on a lean, facing downhill so the water doesn't run backwards. I've got my pipe in there. So now I need to put a stone this side, which means I will need to cut it so I can get it next to that one there, and then put another one to bridge that joint so we don't get a straight joint. So I've roughly marked it with my scotch here, so I know where I'm going to split it, and then I'm going to come over to the splitter. So this is the splitter we've made, and I will ask our editor to put up a photo of this, because I could buy a few of them, but they were quite expensive and I wanted something just cheap and easy. So I managed to come across an old photo, which will be on screen now, and that photo was for cutting bricks, but it's the same idea. So in the bottom here we have a piece of angled iron, and that's just sticking up from this bit of wood.
I'll try and show
it's
it.
just behind a little ridge
I don't know whether I can show
on there. So when your stone goes in, it's pushing on that ridge. Then you get your bolster, and I've cut a little groove in the top here just to line it up, but you don't have to. But you basically just want to have a guide so that that bolster sits above, because the whole point of this is you're trying to cut your block on 2 points. If you try and cut a block just straight your bolster like that, it doesn't know where the crack doesn't know where to go, basically, so you'll get sort of very angled cuts.
Kind of like that one bit that you just picked up, to be honest.
Yeah, it'll just break whether the stone's weakest. Whereas this, you've got 2 points, like a scissor action, you're cutting it at that. So I've got my mark on here I want it to cut. So I'll put it in there, get the block kind of square, and then hit it like that, and you get a relatively straight cut. It's not going to be perfect, but for the size we're dealing with, that's what it's going to do.
I wasn't really showing that.
And so what you want these for is, you'll notice on my wall here that I've got some end ones, and obviously you want a cut edge at that end, so that's where you would otherwise use these, and where I've used them down here, rather than the sawn cut end, as you can see on that block there, which is perfectly straight.
I'm not sure the sunshine is allowing us to see it really, but yeah, that kind of
There's
works.
a difference in those two, so you don't want a sawn cut edge on the edge of your wall on there. you want a faced stone. So that one now, I'll put the face in towards the pipe because it will just look neatest, although it's going to be cemented round, but in there, and that gives me another flat side then to carry on my wall. So I'll get this one in. So once again, got my cement on, and I'm just going to clear some of the cement away that's been sat here because that'll be slightly dry. Setting.
Yeah, this sunshine's not very forgiving for walling.
And then we're just going to pop that into there like that. Clean the joints off, and now we've got a tricky task of cementing around this pipe.
Which the cement doesn't really want to stick to in the first place.
No. Tuck it under there. Just a bit like that.
Beautifully done.
And that'll mean when I come with my next block, that should be level across there. So we'll just see how we're getting on down here. So we are just falling away a little bit. So I'll try and raise these ones up, and when I come with the next course I'll get it a bit leveler than it is. But I will now continue on down that way. That's pretty much what I was thinking. The solar panel is a little bit sensitive to light, and you do have to be quite particular which way you point it, which might cause us a problem as the day goes on with it getting faster, because it will go quite a bit faster than that, which I didn't think it would do.
Yes.
In my testing it didn't, but clearly it's a lot sunnier today than when I tested it. So there might be a bit of work to do electronic wise to try and limit it, but anyway, we can work on that. That's also the reason why I haven't buried the cable yet. My plan is to put a bit of old hose pipe or something across here to put it in to protect the cable and get the panel over this side of things hidden away, but I'll work on that another time. Wall all done in there. I've still got a bit of cementing to do on top of it, but I ran out of cement, and if I try and mix that tiny amount there, I'll get my ratio wrong or end up with too much or too little, so I will fill that in when I next got some cement. But other than that, I have dug these out a little bit more to pull the bank upright more, to get more of the sweeping road round and get the levels a bit better, and then use those stones in there to create the sort of levels to get the height that I needed for that bank.
I'm not sure if I can show the stones because there's sunlight, but
yeah. And so under here is the tank. I've got a piece of metal mesh just sat on top, and then all the stones on top, which means you can lift all the stones off, bend a bit of mesh out or just lift it out, and then get to service the pump if you need to. So that's that. So then otherwise we've just sort of redone the soil up here to get the levels about right there, and obviously all those in now. Put some of the this
whatever that is,
whatever this stuff is, back in.
We've got plenty
along
of
that
it.
edge. We'll just have to keep an eye on it because I don't want it to encroach too much on the road in the middle, but I haven't worked out yet what I'm doing with the road surface, so yeah, we'll sort that out in time if need be. But that's just nicely finished. Well, not quite finished because there's a few bits to do, but looking a lot better than it was. So I can then work on getting the bridge in, which means getting this side done and things like this, and this is a much bigger job, so this might
Yes,
be a little bit longer.
this-
If I can connect the bit of track on there, that would look nice.
That is going to be a much bigger job.
This is going to be a much bigger job, and I keep avoiding it.
Yeah.
I
We
will get
will
to it
do
at some
it.
point, but I don't want to. It's going to take quite a lot of work and quite a lot of special bits and pieces to make it work, so we'll come on to that. The next bit we want to look at, now we've got this tidied up, is extending the railway that way and to the front. So let's give you a talk through of what we're doing over there. So for the open day, we put this sleeper in for an extra couple of sidings, but this is just in its temporary position. This one here is in, that's correct, is that sleeper. This one, however, needs to come back out at some point, and it's probably going to be cut around here somewhere, because we're going to build a bit of a wall section here as we head off that way. But this end here, I'm sort of got a plan in my head of a little bit of stonework and things rather than the brick that I said originally, because I've got some stonework left. I'm not sure how many bricks I've got left. But this bit we won't actually do first. We're going to start somewhere else, work towards this, and then we use up the bricks, and then we know what we've got for this end. So, sleeper, bit of walling stone bit here, onto this section. Down the back, just like we did on the other railway, will be a concrete block wall, and that's what the track is actually going to run on this section, is the concrete wall down the back. Down the front will be stone bit here, and then more sleepers stood up on the end here as a bit of a retaining bit. This is because we ain't got enough bricks to do the whole thing, and it breaks it up a little bit and looks quite nice having sleepers in.
Well, they're stood on this side.
Yes, stood up, so height of them,
Yeah.
and there's two, and then we're using one of them in half to put some bits down that will come into the flags to hold them back, basically. So in between block wall and the sleepers and the wall further on will be soil, bit of infill on the bottom, but soil, which means we can get planting in. And what we're hoping to do then is grow the plants up over the fence, but sort of creating a bit of a planting tunnel that the locos will run through. So yeah, sleepers, and then we get into this corner. So this is the area that's just changed plans slightly in the last few days as we work out the best way of doing it. So you've got one track at the back. That track has to head through to the front. This is all on the gradient, if you remember, so it's 1 in 50 and it's heading up to the front. We've also got another track that's coming round and going up into a steam up area, which will be here. So there's a little bit of intricate point work in this corner, and due to the where we can put the tracks, the width of everything, and a number of little things, we had to come up with a plan to get that to fit, which we've now done. So it's going to be 38-inch radius at the back into a three-way point, and we're hoping to get another 4 foot at the front into the front track here, so that'll be even a longer siding at 4 foot. But to achieve all this, this fence has to move, because the problem at the minute is we don't have enough width here to get the number of tracks that we want in. Also, due to the ground levels and things around here, it actually makes sense for us to move this fence back a bit. So it's probably going to go back around a foot, maybe a little bit more, that way. So that's the next job to be done, is to get this moved. That will then enable us to get foundation and everything in along here, which will be the steam up bay, and we'll build from that end back towards the track that we already have. So along here you have a representation here of the old metal steam up bay, which is actually at the height we're hoping to get this section to. So we've measured it all out, 1 in 50 to roughly the corner, and then it's actually level.
Yeah, it's roughly where that fence post is.
Level round here, just so it's a bit easier coming level into the station. The one at the back can obviously then start to head back up again, but where the points are and things, we want it level for ease of running. So it'll come round into here, and this will be our height, and this means that you can nicely stand at it, or if you want, you can actually sit at it as well and work on your loco. So it's still a good height, not as high as down there, but we're never going to get that. But decent height, you're not working on the floor. The other thing that we wanted to do in this section, because we're not using this by the way, we are walling it, is we're going to use a technique that we used down there with the lintels to create a space underneath to put your boxes. So we're going to do the same here, except it's going to be quite a bit deeper, and I'm hoping to be wider as well. But that just means you can get your stock boxes and loco boxes and steam up things under and out of the way, and you're not going to trip up over them when you've got open days and things. So that tucks under there, and so that's going to go there, and then at this end we're going to have a turntable around in this position. And the reason we're doing that is you've got 3 tracks once you've gone on that 3-way point that was very kindly provided to us by a friend of ours. Thank you very much, Stuart. So that is coming in 3 tracks. We need another one at this end if we were going to combine them all, but rather than do that, we're going to have a turntable, bring them all into that turntable, have a few little chutes off at the end that you can put your loco to cool down, but it joins all the tracks together and means you can go on any of them and you can run around with your engine. You don't need to run anything else around because that's the end of the line that way, so that'll work well for us there. To fit that, because it's going to be sunken in, we need the lintels to be that side of it, so we've just got to think about how we're putting the lintels in that we're going to run across to create your storage underneath, because it's got to avoid the turntable. So there's a little bit of planning there, but this is our next bit. The other thing that we're going to slightly change on the plan to what we said originally was this was going to be a curved wall in this corner, much like we've done elsewhere on the railway. However, we're going to do it straight, and the reason is this front track is our 4-foot radius one, so it's at the front at this position near the flags. At this position it's at the back, it's where the concrete block wall is. So the actual radius of 4 foot is not following where the 2 brick walls are going to be, at the front here of the flags and the front there of the flags. So it's going to be a bit of a weird corner not matching the track and things. So as you can see by the chalk that's on the ground.
Ooh, I'll try and show that.
Yep. So the 4-foot track is only just going across this flag corner. So the plan is to wall the bricks round the flags, and we're going to put like a metal bridge in or something just to get that 4-foot track across. If we decide to put it in, it might be we decide not to put it in, but if we do, we'll just fill that corner in. And that's going to make it a lot easier to wall and just, I think, look a lot nicer in the end result as well. So that'll be in there. So next job, take the fence down, and then we can get new posts in its new position, and there's a little bit of work around the gate and around this fence and things, connecting it all up. But we need to get these out, get those posts in, and then we can think about foundation for this.
Yes, I think there might be some people going, well hang on, there's a shed behind there, how can you move the fence?
Yes.
So I'll just show you.
Yeah, there is a gap.
There's a gap. Actually quite a significant gap, and there is a wall, which I don't know whether it'll show, it's in shadow, but there is a wall, with my finger, here, and it runs, there's probably 2-foot gap at the other end of the fence.
Yeah, so this wall isn't parallel with the flags at this side, and we want our station bit to be parallel, and want the fence to be parallel as well, just to appease my OCD more than anything.
So we've got, we can bring it back a foot.
Yeah.
Fairly easy.
So the actual steaming up area is going to be pretty much up to this wall here and up to the flags at this side. Fence is going to have to go where this bit of wall is currently, so this has to come out. Further down, it doesn't have to come out, it'll probably come out later on, because we're going to build a concrete block wall up here, brick wall up here, fill in everything. So this sort of retaining wall as they've done it, which isn't very well built, won't be needed because this one will be a lot stronger. anyway, so then we'll sort that out at some point in the future. But the fence is basically just going to shift back, be cut down a little bit, and sit in this position to give us that little bit more room to get the track down this
Although
side.
that post is not moving.
Gate is not moving.
Because the gate is not moving.
There will be a little bit of a dog leg at this end.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because it's far too much work to move this whole gate.
Yeah.
It's
it
in the
means
steps.
disturbing all the steps and everything. And we actually think by putting a dog leg in, it's going to strengthen the fence. By having that there rather than a straight fence. And it'll mean that the back of the fence is still the back of your steam up area. So we'll just do a little bit of work because there'll be a little bit of a gap down it due to the thickness of the posts and everything like that. But we've got a plan for that to fill that in so that things don't drop down the back. But it'll all neaten all that up. So yeah, we will get on with dismantling the fence, although possibly not right now because it's
far too hot.
Cooking out here. We might do it later on today. Maybe.
We'll see.
We'll see. But that's next. I've said that before though in numerous places and then it's never been next, but I promise you this will be next.
That is the next thing to be done.
Yes. Right. See you when the fence is down.
It's definitely still recording.